Welcome to our channel, Financial Freedom Principle. This session we have called The Language of Money. This is where we'll be talking about the principle of money, the vocabulary of finance that affect the way we use money, the way money flow in our hands. Language for any culture, any field is so important. This is why if you're a doctor, you spend a lot of time learning about the language of medicine. If you were mathematicians, you spend a lot of time learning about the language of math. It's no surprise for finance and money, we have a language specific to that field. When we understand the language of money, the language of finance, it's helped us to be more successful, but also it's helped us to manage our money better. So because this is so important, we're going to spend some times and every week we're going to have a session where we talk about one vocabulary, one word of finance, and break it down. Look at the definition and then how it's applied in real life. Today, we're going to look at the word of finance. What is finance? Finance is so important to all of us. Usually, whatever we are doing, people always ask us, what is your financial situation? What does your finance look like? If you go borrow money in the bank, they ask you the same questions. What is your finance? Right? What is your credit? How much money you have? Right? What's some of the asset you have? Sometimes, if we don't even know those languages, we might have a hard time understanding what they're talking about. But if you keep coming back to this channel and then look at the language of money, every week we're going to focus on one. Let's look at finance. What is the definition of finance and what are the categories of finance? How does finance apply to us? And also, how is it applied to a company? How does finance apply to government? Let's look at the definition of finance. What is finance? We're going to look at three definitions of finance. Three definitions. This is important because if we look at finance in this way, we will see that finance, first of all, is the management of money. Management of money. How do you manage your money? You have money coming in, you got money coming out. And we need to understand to pay bills, we need money. To buy groceries, we need money. The management of money is part of finance. And we have to make that clear. Everyone need money to operate. I don't care if you don't have a job, you still have money, you still need money to operate. The company need money to operate. And the government also need money to operate. This is important. Number two, to finance something is the process of providing funding. So how many times if you're going to buy a house, you said, I need a bank to finance this property for me. Okay. When you buy something, you have to find a way to pay for it. That's to finance it, to pay for something. The process of doing that, that's part of finance. That's what the verb say, to finance something. That's important. Not only personal, we have to know how to do this, but businesses also need money. They need finance to finance the project, to pay the employee, to increase the business. This is important. The third definition of finance we need to understand and you need to look at is the part of the economy that associated with banking, credit, debt, credit card, market, the money, the flow of money in the economy is part of finance. And also money investment. You need money to invest in the stock market. how does that part of the finance affect the economy? When we don't have a job, now money is not coming in, we don't have any income. How does that affect the economy? Unemployment is when you don't have money to pay your bills. So that is important. Three definition of finance we see today is the management of finance. The finance is the management of money. How do you manage your money? We all need it. To finance something is to pay for it. The process of providing the funding. Where is the money coming from? What we need to buy for the money. Okay, all this is to finance something. But the third one is part of the economy that deal with banking, the banking system. Remember in 2008 when the bubble burst of the housing market, we talk about the banking system was collapsing. The government had to come in and help them. That's part of the economy. That's finance, right? Debt. How much debt the government has? How much debt I have, and how much debt companies has, right? Those are part of finance. Also, how does money flow from my pocket to the business, to the market, and not only to the market, but also how does money flow from me paying taxes, you paying taxes to the government? What does the government do with it? So we will look at that in the second part of today's session. The second part of today's session is what deal with categories of finance. Let's look at that. We know that there's three main categories of finance. Three main categories of finance. We need to look at that. Three main categories of finance. The first one is personal finance. Personal finance is important. How individual pay for goods and services, invest for tomorrow, for your future. So how does money come into you, okay, as a person, right? That's personal finance, individual finance. How much money you have either invest or saved, how much money you spend, you're spending, that's part of your personal finance. How you pay for your bills, that's part of personal finance. What are your expenses is part of finance. At the end of the day, you want your expenses to be less than your income, right? The money that's coming into your pocket, you don't want to bring it into your pocket and spend more than you should. That's important. We need to look at how much do we need to spend and how much money we can make. Where are money coming from? Are they coming from our job? Are they coming from investment? And then those are personal finance. How do we pay taxes? When do we pay taxes? How much taxes do we pay? That is personal finance because it's all about individuals. The second category of finance is corporate finance. This is the finance of businesses. The question we should ask is, how does a business or a company manage their finance? Right? How do they pay for the financial activities? How do they pay for the employee or for the health benefit of the employees? How do they pay for it? How do they spend money to grow the business? Those are the things that every business owner or entrepreneur or business CEO or managers are worried about, right? So every time a company sell a product, money come in. That's part of corporate finance. This is important for us to understand because as we realize it, everything a person go through with their money, a business go through the same thing. They have to have income. Money got to come into the business the same way money got to come into our lives, either by our job or the business. When they sell a service, when they sell a product, money coming in. But they have to spend money to employ people, to buy to get resources to be able to produce a product. So this is corporate finance. Anything got to do with how the business spend money to finance or every activity they do. And then at the end of the day, whatever they spend to create a product, it should be less than how much they're gonna sell it for. That way they can make a profit, and then they can continue in the business and also continue to grow the business. This is important. And the third category of finance we see is the public finance. This is what we call it government finance. How does the government, how does a country, right, pays for all the service and it provide to us? How does the country, not only the country, how does the city pay for everything, right? The police services, right? Security. How do they provide? How do they pay for it? Okay, education. How do we pay for education? Right, public finance. How do we do that? How do we fix the roads? Right, all this is part of public finance. You hear also about they have the budget, yearly budget, right, quarterly budget. How does the country deal with all that? How much money coming in from taxes? If you're a local city or town, the money for the city come from the taxes they collect from the homeowners, or taxes they collect from cars. Then all this money coming in, how do they spend that money? Do they spend more than they have money coming in? This is where public finance, if you're involved in politics, if you're involved in your local community, you can go and look at the budget of your city. We can look at and know how much money that's the United States of America owe right now. If you're in a different country, for example, Europe, right? How much money that Greece, for example, owe on all these infrastructure budget they need to keep the country going. And if you're in Haiti, how does the government pay for all these projects they are doing? Okay, since we have to look at how much money do we bring in. So if you bring $5 and you spend 10, where you gonna get the other 5? How does the government finance the projects, the budget? Look at the budget, right? So those are how the government, that's public finance. And listen, every thing that's applied to a person financially applied to a corporation or enterprise, but also it's applied to the government. The government is not exempt from all this. This is why we saw that the country for right now, the United States, is in a deficit right now. We owe trillions of dollars, right? Because they don't balance the budget. If they have $1 trillion coming in from taxes and they spend 5 trillion, you can see how we have to borrow money to pay for those. Those are part of public finance. So I want to encourage you, like we see today, finance. We look at what is finance. Finance is important to all of us. That's why I encourage everyone, myself included. I'm working every day on my financial education. I encourage you, come back to this channel often, right? Come back and review some of the training we have here on the channel, so you understand more and more. You can read books to help you. One books that I read a while back that's make me so dedicated to financial education. It's Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That this is a great beginning for anybody who want to know how finance is important to us, how money is important. How do we live every day, and knowing that we need to understand how to balance our own budget, right? How much money we have coming in and how much money we have going out. So finance, when we understand the language of finance, we can put those in application in our lives. That way, we can try to achieve financial freedom a better way. And then that way, we can have enough money left to spend, not only to spend, but we have enough money left to invest. That's the key. The investment. We need to be able to have money to save for retirement. To do that, we need to know how to manage our money, which is finance. So we saw that finance is the management of money, how to finance something, how to pay for something, the process of providing funding to a project or to something you're trying to buy. And then also we see finance is part of the economy that deal with banking and also with credit and flow of money in the economy. And we also saw today three main categories of finance: personal finance, corporate finance, and public finance. It was a pleasure for me to be with you today so we can look at the language of money. And today we look at finance. And then next week we'll come back again to look at money itself, the definition of money. I'll see you next time. May God bless you.